So last week I had the pleasure of coming on Michael Ducey's podcast and to come on during his client weigh-ins to have a chat with them in general about different topics and so on. So I'm going to share the video here, Richie. So thanks to Michael for letting me on. Now, if any of you guys want to check out Michael, this is his page, okay? He also has a podcast called Health is Wealth, if you want to check him out. So thanks again, Michael, for having me on, and this is what went on.
Hey, hi guys, I've got Peter O Halloran on today. So Peter, you want to tell the guys a little bit about your background first of all?
So
2 hours later.
One of the videos I've shared with this group is the one that you put up last week when you were on the other conference, the one about the weighing scales, because it's one that I can totally relate to. With that one in mind, Peter, do you mind, I was sharing this video with you earlier, the one about the Operation Transformation. Do you mind if I share that one now with the group? And I just want to hear your kind of take on it, your opinion on it.
Yeah.
It's just a 2-minute video, guys. I want you to have a quick look and listen. And I'm just going to see then what Peter's opinion on this one is, okay?
Good luck, up yet. Okay, Eilish, last week you were 12 stone, 8.5 pounds. Your target was to lose 2 pounds. And today you weigh 12 stone, 7.5 pounds. So that is a loss of just 1 pound for the week. So it means you didn't hit your target. Was the day at the races worth it?
Yeah.
Okay, Aoife.
Eilish, for me, that one day just felt like throwing caution to the wind and not caring, you know?
No, that's not right. I did care. I looked everything up on the internet. My food was perfect for the day. I did my exercises.
But the alcohol was an extra, maybe 600 or 700, maybe more calories added into the day.
Did you feel that everything was going to be okay after that, like because you had checked in on your food?
I knew it wasn't going to be okay because I was worried about today. But I worked my socks off the week before, knowing I had the day coming up.
You're supposed to work hard every week. This week was an abomination, and I was embarrassed for you, and I was disgusted to see you. You let the program down, you let your followers down, and with respect to you, Eilish, you let yourself down. Operation Transformation is about the country getting healthy. And one of our 5 leaders went out this week and got drunk on TV and thought it was great.
And it's what
it looked like. And I was disgusted because there are people around the country who are following you. There are young people watching this show. There are kids watching this show. And I thought that was appalling. I might have expected it from one of our younger leaders, but you are not one of our younger leaders.
Realistically, I thought, you know, for the 8 weeks, I'm not going to give up alcohol. So I said, there's no point in fooling myself for 8 weeks and not having a drink. So I said it was the one social day that I do have, that I was going to have a few drinks. And I Googled just to see what I was allowed.
But that 11 units is the maximum amount we recommend to people to have from a health perspective over an entire week.
I did my best.
I think, Eilish, you can't delude yourself that you
I'm not deluding myself. I know I made a mistake. I probably had more than I should have had. I didn't reach my target.
Why come on this program? Why take up a place and do that? I can't fathom it.
Hey, look, I made a mistake. I had a few drinks, had a good day. It's life.
Cool. So, Peter, what's your take on that?
Charlotte, let's face the facts. You are...
Cool.
First of all, they should change the name to Operation Fuck Up the Nation. Or, you know, like that is just, like, looking at that. The reason I don't like Operation Transformation is, number one, you were bringing someone who is already conscious about their weight on national television in underwear, okay, and giving out to them because they're living their life. They're not teaching them anything. They're telling and giving them unrealistic expectations. And I did not once hear anything mentioned about measurements. Everything there was about 1 pound. It was a pound, okay? A pound here and there. Oh, Okay, I need to calm myself because I go nuts with this though. But so did you play the video of the weighing scales that I had up?
Yeah, I played that video, Peter. Yeah, I played that one.
So everyone would have seen how quickly weight can go up and down. And I can see a lot of the cameras here, a lot of people are a lot of you here are female. And I actually feel sorry for you because it's harder on you when you're on a weight loss journey, because not every single one of you will be the same. A lot of you will, a week before your period, you will store water. That's going to happen. And that's your body. The rise in estrogen makes you store water. That's going to happen. Okay. Some women, it can happen twice. Okay. It can happen before ovulation. You'll have a rise in estrogen as well as a rise in testosterone, and they can gain water there. Sometimes some women, because of your hormones, you will never change weight at all. And you will stay, your body will change. Can I share a screen here actually? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just make you co-host there, Peter, just in case it doesn't allow you to.
I want to just show everybody something here. Share screen. Can everyone see that picture? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a client that I had with me. Now, that is a great change. Okay, now, read what I have here. She started with me at 13 stone 5 and today is 13 stone 4. That's a 1 pound drop. What I'm getting at there is weight is irrelevant. When you're looking at that, her whole body has changed and it's 1 pound of a drop. Weight has absolutely nothing to do with it. Your weight will fluctuate up and down daily. Okay. As I said before, I think I mentioned on the last thing you had that my weight alone, I could be up by 3 kilos by tonight. Reasons why your weight will go up and down. Number one, by females, your hormones. Estrogen is going to make your weight, your body store water. Okay, but it dissipates after your cycle. For men, if you drink alcohol, alcohol converts to estrogen. Estrogen seems to be the culprit here half the time. Okay, now, when someone says, I'm very blunt with my clients, they don't mind that because I'll tell them exactly how it is and the way it is. So I had weigh-ins and one client came on and said, I'm very disappointed this week. And I just cut her off and said, hold on, are you paying me to tell you how you did, or are you paying me to listen to you tell me how you did? I said, this is where you're wrong. Look at your weight, fine. You're saying you dropped 1 pound. You lost 1 inch off your hip and you lost 1 inch off your waist. Okay? That is a lot of fat to lose off a body. If anyone has an issue with scales, which the majority of our generation do, because like that's what's being fed into us, is scales. Get rid of them. Fuck them out the window. Just don't throw them in the bin. Just know what you should be measuring is where water will not accumulate. Okay, which is your hip and waist. Sometimes you can get bloated and it might affect your hip measurement or your waist. Water does not accumulate there unless you have a massive set of obliques and you're bodybuilding or something. But that's the only place. If you're on a weight loss journey, forget your scales. Measure your hip and your waist and your bust. Okay. And the reason I say that is because your bust is going to tell you. So measure around your nipple, okay, and the back, because that is going to tell you when you are coming up to your period. Because women's first place water will store pre-period is your chest, okay. So I will see it on my client's weighing sheet. They will say to me, "Oh, I didn't lose that in this week," or "Why didn't I lose weight? But I'm down in inches." And I will say, well, look at your chest there. It was 36 last week. It's 37 now. You're due your period. And then they will say, Jesus, yeah, you're right, actually. I am. Next day, bang, there you go. Okay? You need to learn how the body works. And the scales does not do that. How many of you here have looked at the scales and seen a number and went off and binged because you didn't hit a number you wanted? Like, I guarantee you there's a lot of you there who've done that. What does that number mean? Like, you're looking at a number and you have no idea what that number means. You're like, oh, 165. What does that mean? It's heart, lungs, bones, skin, everything is measured in that. It's only a unit of measurement, not how much fat is in your body. And as you see from my video, I was up 2 pounds from drinking water. You know what I mean? If you drank that and went into Slimming Planet, as I called it last time, just so I'm not sued, like you have Bridget over there in the corner who has no qualification at all, and she looks at you and demonizes you and says, oh, you didn't stick to the plan. Like, you're not going to gain a pound from a Freddo bar. Like, do you know what I mean? From you to gain a pound of fat, okay? We all know, or well, if you didn't know, to lose fat, your body has to abide by the laws of thermodynamics. Okay, so the first law of thermodynamics is calories in versus calories out. That's simplified. So you have to be in a calorie deficit. That's number one, okay? Number two is the efficiency of the fuel. Now, laws of thermodynamics apply to a closed system or machines. We technically are machines. I'm a machine, but we're technically machines. We're biomechanical machines, but we are an open system machine because we go to the toilet. Like, we're not just closed off like a car engine. Okay, so if you were in a calorie deficit, and let's say 400 calories or 500 calories, safe enough to not affect your metabolic rate, your basal metabolic rate, for you to put on a pound of fat, you would have to eat 500 calories to bring you back up to your maintenance and an additional 3,500 calories. So that Freddo bar you ate definitely doesn't have you up to over a pound of weight. People need to realize as well that the cycle, you can bank calories, okay? Calories is number one. People focus on macros too much. You do not need to focus on macros unless you are an athlete or you are about to go on stage with the tan on and flexing. That's the only time you need to focus on macros as well as the calories. And others will say to me, oh, but the macros for health. If someone has a lot of fat to lose, your health will improve as you lose the fat. So calories is number one. Calories on a weight loss plan, forget macros, focus on calories, okay? People need to also separate training from food, okay? The gym and food, because you will have people say, new year, new me, off to the gym I go, I'm going to lose all the weight. The gym is created for fitness. That's what a gym is for. It's for fitness. And it helps you increase your calorie output. Yes. But it's food for fat loss, gym for fitness. Okay? And the way to look at that is, and I said this last time, Michael, you heard me say it was, I use a car as an analogy. Okay? Like I said, we are machines. Look at a car. So what is your output? Your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, or your total daily energy expenditure, what you burn in a day. Okay, so what you burn in a day, break that down. Your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. How that is broken down with your body is 70% is your BMR, is your basal metabolic rate. So 70% of my calories are being burned sitting here like a sloth, okay? Doing nothing. That's 70% of your calorie burn. Your body will burn that, your lungs, brain, everything that's keeping you alive. Another 10% of your calorie burn is your thermal effect of food, okay? Your body needs to use energy to convert to the food you eat. So it's burning 10% to convert the food you're eating. Okay, 15% of that, of your next part, is your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is any movement you do throughout the whole day that is not exercise related. Even what I'm doing here, fidgeting and moving my hands, that burns calories. Everything burns calories. I burn a lot because I don't shut up, so my mouth is moving all the time. So I'm burning loads of calories here. So like when you look at it then for the last, what's left, 5%, and 5% is your EAT, your exercise activity thermogenesis. So people are training themselves, they're going training, and they're only burning about 200 or 300 calories. Now, don't be that person who says to me, I burned 700 calories on my Fitbit. No, you didn't burn 700 calories on your Fitbit, okay? Your Fitbit is including your BMR alongside. So if you have a Fitbit that's telling you, and you're in a little Fitbit battle with your buddies, all right? The newer ones will tell you what you burnt in the exercise. Majority of them don't. Okay, so if it says 700 calories, it's a lie. How to get what you have got, how to find out what you have burnt from your exercise is, if it says 700 calories, take your BMR out of it, which is 70%. So multiply your 700 calories by 0.3, and you're left with 210, I think. Okay, that's what you burn in that exercise, not 700 calories. So there's a lot of misconception around calories and fat loss and what people burn. So another part is psychology, okay? Just as I pick up a bar of chocolate, people need to understand you cannot restrict yourself. There's no such thing as a good or bad food, okay? Chocolate's not a bad food, chocolate's food. You need to understand a balance. You need to have a balance. I will say to my clients, you have a snack of 250 calories there, anything you want. I don't care what it is. As long as you stay within the calories that I've allotted for you for the day, and you get the portions of, which are proteins, of fruits and veg into you, I don't care. If you tell someone they cannot have something, it's pure father-ted syndrome. Dougal, don't press the button, Dougal. He's going to want to press that button. You tell someone not to do something, or they can't have something, they are going to want it. Okay? Like that Operation Transformation video there, they're telling her she can't have stuff. And her answer was perfect. She said, like, what's sustainable? She's telling the dietitian, that should be the dietitian telling her, you need to do what's sustainable for longevity. You cannot start something and go hell for leather, fucking 100 miles an hour at something. You need to think, what can I keep consistent? So if that means you starting something, exercise, for example, I see it all the time. I see people, they go into the gym, first day in the gym, and they kill themselves. It's not sustainable. You know what I mean? You need to look at longevity, and longevity is key. What can you keep up for the rest of your life? This is a change in lifestyle. How long did it take someone to get unhappy with themselves? It's going to take time to get happy with yourself. I probably went on a bit of a rant there now, even though you just asked me what I thought about the Operation Transformation video. But
Peter, just when you were talking there about Operation Transformation, and like one of the things I was taking from that video anytime I watch it is it's as if they're using like guilt and shame as kind of the main motivating factors. Do you think that's, you probably don't from listening to that, but do you think it's a good way of getting a client to get the results they want?
no. If a client comes on and you start saying to them, you're a useless fucker, you didn't follow what you did, blah, 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 what are you going to do? You're going to demoralize that person, okay? And if you're saying like you cannot use what's the word I'm looking for? Like guilt. You can't guilt someone into doing something. They need to want to do it themselves. And if you guilt someone into doing something, they're just going to say, I'm done, right? You need to explain to them and educate them on the process and be patient. That, like, once someone learns something and they understand it, they'll do it themselves. If someone is doing a plan, they're an adult. They're not kids. They don't need to be treated like children, okay? You teach them, you explain to them. Adults are adults. They know what they're doing. They'll put it into context, like they'll work it. If you tell them constantly put them down, you're not doing anything for their self-esteem.
Yeah, just while we're on that, I just felt like something as simple as encouragement from the coaches at that point was exactly what you needed. And a case of, okay, you've done that this week, you did plan for it, you'll move on because that event is over in your life now and you can keep consistent and you're going to get the results you want. Do you think, like, for motivating a client, what would you use yourself from your own personal experience? What do you think works best for motivating your clients?
Okay. Well, number one, like I said, I don't restrict anyone. I let them have what they want. But I explain. I educate them on, we all like to have a drink. Okay. So I have a video on Instagram of how to, if you want to have, there's no point lying to yourself now, because I know when clients lie to me, the numbers tell me. They don't say, I had a glass of wine. No, you didn't. You had a bottle. Tell the truth. I know you had a bottle of wine, right? Or a very big bottle, a glass that's the size of a bottle. A bottle of wine is about 600 calories. If you know that you're going to have a bottle of wine this weekend, drop your calories by 100 calories for 6 days. There you go. You can have, you've banked calories. Think of calories as currency. It's money. Now you want to save up €600 and you're getting, geez, I wonder who's on that much money to save 100 a day. But do you get me? Like, save calories for the weekend. If you have an event, a wedding, something coming up, save calories. That's what I do. I don't even need to motivate them. I explain to them, if you're going to do this, do this. Okay? And they understand and it works. And when they weigh in, they have motivated themselves because they see the results. Okay? Now, if I do need to motivate a client, usually it's because, as I said, shit happens. Life gets in the way. And it's usually nothing to do with, they think they're this falling off the wagon that everyone likes to say. I don't know where this proverbial wagon came from, okay? Right, I know a few wagons, but you don't fall off them, right? This, life gets in the way. You're going to have days or weeks where you are not going to be able to give everything 110%. That's life, okay? Explain to the client, like, you need to understand, that's fine. You can have a week. If you said to yourself, oh, I am sick to death of this, I'm giving myself a few days off. Do give yourself a few days off. That is not going to damage you. You must think about it. How many weeks have you been an adult? You know what I mean? Like, there's 52 weeks in a year. How many weeks have you been an adult and you're upset because you might have one bad week? You're going to have a lot of bad weeks throughout the year. But as long as the good weeks outweigh the bad, you will make progress. Progress is like going down the stairs, taking 2 steps. You'll always take 1 step up, but you take 2 steps down. So you'll have a bad week, 2 good weeks, have a bad week, 2 good weeks. You know what I mean? You'll get there eventually. Like a car, you're in a journey. You have to stop for a piss, don't you? You have to have a coffee. You're going to stop at some point, then you continue on. Okay? People need to stop beating themselves up about stuff. Oh, I didn't do well this week. I'm very upset with myself. Stop being upset with yourself. So what? Draw a line under it. Forget about it. Get your thoughts together. Get back on plan. And I think giving people the power, that kind of power, to let them empower themselves. Like you're educating them. They let them empower themselves, and they will. The brain is magnificent. It's a magnificent thing. Let it do its thing. You just help them along.
Peter, I might ask you about something we chatted about ourselves during the week when I was just messaging you back and forth. And it was having Pepsi. And it's the first time...
no calories, Pepsi Max.
It's the first time we've heard it mentioned. You know the RICE acronym about the rest, ice, compression, elevate. You're saying that based on the latest scientific research, that's not actually factually correct at all. That ice shouldn't be a part of that. So could you tell us a bit more about that?
So the doctor who created the method started obviously implementing that as part of courses and so on. Rest, ice, compression, elevation, and so on. But he himself conducted a load of studies, and then other studies were conducted after that. And the studies have shown that it's incorrect. You don't put ice on it because the ice is to stop the inflammation, but you need inflammation. Inflammation, like if you think of the processes of recovery, blood goes to the area. You need blood to go to the area. And you need, like, if it's a closed wound or an ankle sprain or something, blood needs to carry nutrients. It needs to carry oxygen. It needs to carry everything through that area to start healing it. It will swell for a reason. The reason it's swelling is because it's sending blood to the area and the tissue obviously is inflamed. But that is a good thing. Putting ice on it is delaying your recovery. It's delaying recovery. So what I think, the I should be taken out. It should be rest, compression, and elevation. And the compression shouldn't be that much of a compression. I mean, compression should be actually more of a support, not squeezing a bandage around your leg. Do you get me?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to just, as well, another thing that I noticed when I was kind of scrolling again yesterday on your page, one of the things you mentioned is stretching before exercise leads to injury. Are you referring to like static stretching? Like, would you incorporate any dynamic stuff, or do you think stretching in general should be avoided in a warm-up?
No. So what I say is, before your exercise, you don't do any static, standing there. So you're like lying down and stretch. Your muscles aren't warm enough. Like they're not. You need to think of its joint mobility. That's what you need to focus on before you start any exercise. Okay, so rotations and over and back and this kind of stuff, dynamic movements. Okay, if you look at a soccer player going up and down the pitch, okay, their knees up, knees high, and they're doing static, legs out, and they're not standing there, static stretching, because your muscles aren't warm enough and your joints aren't either. If you think of a chip fat fryer that's been sitting there for 6 months and the oil has gone rock hard, right? Think of that as your joints, right? You need to melt the oil, and that's the easiest way of explaining it. So you need to heat them up. You need to warm up, and you need to get yourself mobile. when you actually do the static stretching, then as in stretching out all the muscles, is what I says when you're finished doing your exercise, or when you're finished like your workout. That's, your muscles are warm, they're going to be more rigid, like they're more elastic for all the world. So that's when you can do it and push out the lactic acid out of them and so on. And a lot of people do foam rolling after the exercises or all that. But yeah, doing mad stretches before exercise, it will cause a lot more injuries. And before I even said that on my page, I asked a friend of mine, and he's the same guy as well, who told me the name of the doctor for the Rice method. He's a muscular therapist. So I'm trying to think what the name was. I'll just get his name. For anyone who wants to look up the doctor who created the Rice method, it was Gabe Merkin. Okay. If you look him up, it was 1978 he came up with it. And since then, he has redacted it. And people said to him, oh, no, this came up in 1970. He's like, yeah, I wrote the book. I'm telling you. But that same guy, Richie Crowe, a buddy of mine, he's also in the army. He specializes in rehabilitation and muscle therapy and all that.
Cool. Thanks for that, Peter. The next area I want to touch on is one that seems to really, really piss you off. I've seen a few rants about it on your Instagram page. The Netflix documentaries, so the ones about vegans and stuff, Cowspiracy, all that kind of stuff, game changers. What's your take on those?
Is there any vegans here? Is there?
We have a few in the group, I think. I'm not going to name anyone out, but we have a few.
No. Look, okay. I have no problem at all with veganism, with people going keto, whatever people want to eat that they are happy with doing for either ethical reasons or health reasons. They're adults, they're human, they do what they want, okay? Now, there's one thing I will say is no one, not even myself, can say that one diet is the healthiest diet. There's no, like, vegan's not the healthiest, mine's not the healthiest, and keto's not the healthiest, right? Now, when it comes to ethical reasons, brilliant, but using a documentary as evidence is ridiculous, okay? Now, I get this all the time. People with their Google Masters try and argue with me, okay? They Google something, or they read an article, or they watch a documentary, and then they'll try to attack me. Now, I will give them the time. I'll say, oh, please elaborate, let them go on, dig the hole deeper. So we'll say game changers, for example. Wilkes was his name, wasn't it? The guy who narrated it, like. So first off, they started the documentary talking about gladiators and how gladiators were vegan. And which is a pretty stupid example to use because a gladiator was a slave. Okay? Meat was expensive. And I doubt they had a choice in what they had to eat. Okay? They were given millet, which is cow feed, and they were given mostly what's available in that area. Now, what articles and documentaries do is they will get a scientific study, and that's what I will read. I read scientific studies. I don't read articles. Articles are abstract, okay? And that's what we said, the game changers. It is they cherry-picked out of a study parts to suit themselves. So they said in such a study that there was no meat found in the diet of these gladiators, so on. What they failed to mention is those were the bones exhumed in one area, in like where there was no, like there was no coastline, surrounded by land. So they didn't mention about the gladiators in Tunisia who were on the coast, who had a diet rich in fish. Why? Because it's abundant. Do you get me? So whatever, it was location depending, that's what gladiators were fed. Whatever food was abundant, that's what they were fed. Gladiators were not like we see nowadays athletes, you know, you have nutritionists and all these getting you in top form. Slaves and, you know, prisoners of war. That's what these guys were. So that point was just irrelevant. It was stupid. The other point then, what they failed to mention was, I think they did a study or another part on blood plasma levels, okay, and the people eating tacos, and that was the worst study ever seen. But there was another study done like that. On the same study they failed to mention another part that showed the lack of creatine in the blood plasma so the vegan person had a lack of isotopes in their plasma. It's a bit complicated now, scientific, so they had their creatine, muscle creatine was lower than that of the vegan, so they could outperform the vegan because of their blood plasma levels and the isotopes in the blood levels, right? So that was in the same study, but they didn't mention that either, okay? There's a lot of stuff in the studies that they cherry picked to make something look better for themselves, okay? Now, they could have made a really good documentary if they just like tell the truth, tell the whole story, give the whole facts. Like, if I tell someone who is a vegan the whole facts and they're doing it for ethical reasons, that's their decision and they're fully informed. Don't lie to them and make them look like a fool then when I rip an arsehole out of them, just ripping them to death on Facebook going, no, you're wrong, you know. Sorry. You know, so like, to give people facts.
Peter, I'm going to hand over to Mikey. He's another one of our coaches now. He just messaged me there. He's got a question himself that he'd like to ask, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Peter. How are things?
Hi, man. What's happening?
Not too much. Great talk so far. When we talk to the ladies on our Friday fixes and that with our courses, they're always worried about saying that they kind of eat the same foods every day and they think it's boring and they think, oh, I need to change up to get better effects from the foods and that. What's your thoughts on kind of having the same routine, same foods, in and around the same foods per every week?
No. If someone is starting off, okay, they're obviously starting because they're in dire straits, or it's not like we all know how to eat. It's not like they've forgotten how to eat. Do you know what I mean? We all know how to eat, but they have lost their way in managing how they're eating, okay? So putting someone on a plan though that's giving them the same foods every day is still not good, because that's not what they're going to continue doing. Now, if they're in dire straits, they need structure. Yes, you need structure. Everyone needs structure in their life. I have clients who pay me just to weigh in. Do you know, when they're finished? As someone said to me before, oh, you have a bad business plan. I said, why? Because my business plan, I teach people over a 3-month course that they don't have to use me anymore, that they can continue for themselves. Yes, it could be a bad business plan that they're not coming back to me, but I don't see it that way. I'm in this business to help people better their lives, and word of mouth, that betters my business. The minute money overtakes my business, I'm going to just leave the business, all right? Or the minute money overtakes my want to help people better themselves, right? So when it comes to food, and if you give someone the same food every day, it is going to get boring, and they're going to crave, they're going to want, okay? So give them structure, but 3 points of structure. So this whole thing about inform first, you do not have to eat breakfast to kickstart your metabolism, like people said. If you had to kickstart your metabolism, you'd be dead, Okay, your metabolism is always going. Breakfast, like they say, it's the most important meal of the day. It doesn't matter when you have breakfast. I didn't have my breakfast at 1 o'clock today, okay? And it doesn't matter if you're in a deficit and you eat at 12 o'clock at night, calories don't change after a certain time. Calories are calories. So you're not going to put on fat. So you need to inform them, though, to get in the right amount of protein, that their body isn't eating their own amino acids. So give them suggestions, but you need to give a lot of different suggestions. But don't say just chicken. You have to eat chicken. Any white meat or ham up to a certain, like, I don't know now if whatever way you do your plans, if I'm giving out one, I like to give the decision to the client. Okay, so I will give options, and I will give different options for every day. Because think about it, if you do that, if I send you to the gym and I give you 3 exercises to do, and you have to do it every day for 2 months, you're going to be sick to death of it. Like.
Yeah,
So,
I know. Yeah, I didn't explain myself properly there. Sorry. Yeah, we have kind of the same plan as you, and that's why we're finding you so interesting. And we have the same ethos as you. We teach the guys the skills, and then we let them off. We don't expect them to be doing another program after this. We have the exact same ethos as you. But sorry, I didn't explain myself properly. When I say they're eating the same foods, we don't just give them these certain foods that they should be eating, but they just have their routine. So they might have something for breakfast Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and something different for breakfast Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. But they're not eating the exact same foods every day, but they just think a boring nutrition plan, or they think their own plan is boring, but it works for them, and it gets them through the day, and it gets them through the week to start off. And then they can start a bit more of an adventurous streak and trying new foods and getting their protein in and getting all their carbs in, everything that they should be getting in. But they kind of think it's boring if they're eating the same good foods every week.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. Like you're saying, good foods there, right? Okay, so if you put it like this, so if you're giving them a 7-day plan, all right, try and, like, obviously you want them to stick to your plan to get into structure first, okay? And as you're teaching them, then they like, you have to put it in their hands. Like you said, they start to make their own choices, which is what I teach. You know, I might have down, I want you to have 2 slices of bread, 2 cheese triangles, and, you know, some ham or whatever in a sandwich. But I also have a thing saying, if you don't want to have that and you want something else, see, I have recipe books as well, because no matter how much you tell people they can have what they want, or use their imagination, some people just don't have an imagination, or some people are just lazy and they just want it giving to them. So you need to provide that too. So I have recipe books there where I'll have up to certain calories. I give them that as well. I tell people that's what I'm suggesting, or I'm giving you like a breakfast option, lunch option, and dinner option. They're the 3 mains, and that's where I'll incorporate your proteins, okay? Fats and carbs do not matter as much. They're not that important. Low carb diet, load of shit. It's bullshit. So as long as someone gets enough protein into them, not just for satiety, but for their own muscles, for their amino acids, like, so they're not eating their own amino acids per se, okay? Fats and carbohydrates can be mixed whatever way you want. There's been studies done recently, and they fed one crowd a high-fat diet, and the other crowd a low-fat diet, high carbs. There was no difference in the fat loss with the same calorie deficit. It doesn't matter, right? So you give them the option, you give them an option for every day, for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. change it though. And
Yep.
you include snacks, do you?
Yeah. They can build their own kind of repertoire. They can have their own foods as long as they're hitting the protein and everything per week.
Exactly, brilliant. And like that's the way it should be. Like I'm saying, your first snack there, 250 calories of anything you want. Like when someone sees that, like that's straight away, oh, lovely, geez. How many times have you seen people go to a restaurant and they're looking through the menu and they're going, oh, I can't have that now. Oh, I can't. You can't live like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
people need to be able to learn
sustainable.
The process. Yeah, be capable, like learn the process. I know I have this much protein to take in. I'm within that. How many calories have I left? Like currency. Yeah, I can have that. Yeah, no bother. I'll have it. And guilt. Not feel guilty. You cannot feel guilty about eating food. You know what I mean? Like we're designed to eat food, but you can't feel guilty about it. If you have a stressful day, some people turn to food. That's natural. Some people turn to food and they might have one binge. And I deal with a lot of people with eating disorders. Okay. Now, when I have people with eating disorders, I don't get them to weigh in with weighing scales at all, because a lot of the eating disorders, there's actually a thing called scale trauma. I don't know if you heard of that. No?
Yeah.
Like these people have been so messed with their head because they're looking at the scales and go, I get them, no scales for you, hip, waist measurements, that's it. And they see after they try on clothes and as measurements go down, and after I start giving back control, you see, eating disorders and a lot of them things are about control. This is the psychology side of things. It's control, and I take control away from them, but I drip feed control back to them. You need to drip feed the right control. It's like me taking in a recruit into the army. I have to break him. I have to break him down to basic human being again to teach him and give him back little tasks as control again. Because the generation nowadays we have, the Love Island generation, sorry, but for example, the last recruit platoon I had one guy, 20 years of age, standing in front of me with his boots open. Now, I didn't roar, I didn't shout. I asked him, why are your boots open? I don't know how to tie my laces, Corporal. Okay. Why do you not know how to tie your laces? What have you done till now? I use Velcro. You know what I mean? That's the generation you're dealing with now. So you need to you need to look at all angles here at a client. Like, there's a lot of things going on in the client's life. Some people might be like if you're saying there, are you saying people prefer to eat the same food or they want change?
No, when we're starting off a program, it's really hard to be fitting all the new things into your life, into your lifestyle. Yeah, so just at the very beginning, they get worried about eating the same because they think it's boring and they think it's not working. But once they start getting used to the whole different things after week 3 or 4, it's more adventure then, and then that's when they start eating different foods. But just at the beginning, they think, oh, this isn't good because it's boring. I'm just eating boring foods, but they're hitting their protein.
It shouldn't be boring either, though. That's the thing. Like a dinner, what do people usually have for dinner? Like, okay, you'll have a meat, you'll have some vegetables, and you'll have potatoes. Like that doesn't mean that you can't put on some sauces on it and all that. Include them in your calories. Like, the best thing to do when someone is stuck and they come and someone is starting a plan, and for anyone there who's not a PT or just a client of you guys, like, when they're starting a plan, kind of stick to the coach's advice first, like, as in, follow what they're saying, because you've come to them for a reason, okay? once you have the structure in place, and once, not the coaches, I'm on about like clients, once the clients have the structure in place, number one, if they think it's not working, your coach has you in a deficit. So if you think it's not working, well, you're not the one who's qualified there to think it's not working. If you're saying it's not working and you're in a deficit, then you must be scientifically observed, because it's defying science. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're losing fat. Just because you might think in a week or two it's not showing, that's the other side of it, is time. Expectation of time, which a lot of clients think that they're going to change their body in 4 weeks. No, it takes time. As I said, it's a journey. It's a journey. You're going from A to B. You go at 60 miles an hour. You don't want to go 100 miles an hour and crash the car. Everything
exactly,
has over time.
Yeah, we have the exact same thoughts on these sort of things. Is it okay if anybody in the group wants to ask you any questions of that?
Yeah, fire
away. I think one of our other coaches there, James, has a question. If you hop in. Thanks a million for your so far.
How are you going, Peter?
Hi, James.
Not too bad now. I was just wondering if you could just give a bit of advice to everyone. When people start off first, maybe in the gym, and they wouldn't be educated on supplements and that kind of stuff, and they might feel maybe pressured even into buying stuff that they don't really know what it does or why they should be buying it. I don't know if I've explained that question properly at all.
I get what you're saying, man. I get what you're saying. So, right, supplementation, there's no need for someone starting off to supplement. Okay? The supplements I tell people to take starting off is make sure you take vitamin D. We live in Ireland, we don't get enough sunshine. Okay? Some people can suffer from, have you ever heard of SAD? I don't mean like being sad, but it's seasonal. Like, it's people get upset with the seasons and that kind of thing. Like, my father has it. If it's a bad day, he'll kill everyone, right? So that affects vitamin D. Make sure you're getting in vitamin C. Okay. Now, they will tell you. Do you ever see the effervescence tablets, the fizzy ones? Okay.
Yeah.
So they say 1 a day. I have 4 a day, because that's what I'm having for my body. They will always give you the minimum dose, and they say the RDA. No, it's not. If you're buying vitamin D and it says dosage of 1, take 2. If it says no vitamin C, you could, any water soluble vitamin, you're going to piss it out if your body doesn't use it. It's simple as that. Okay. But what people need to understand as well, you have a lot of people who are afraid of eating fat. A lot of vitamins will not be absorbed into your body if they don't eat fat. Like vitamin K and all the fat soluble vitamins. Okay. But what I tell people is the only supplement you need is food, apart from the vitamins. Vitamin D, vitamin C, and some B complex or something like that. Now, if you want to increase your mood slightly, another one I would say would be, I don't know if it's made illegal now in Ireland, but look, you can get it up in Northern Ireland from bulk powders or someplace. L-tryptophan. Have you heard of L-tryptophan?
No, not myself now. No, but
okay. So L-tryptophan is in Turkey. It's an amino acid, but what it does is it creates serotonin. So you take it before you go to bed. It helps you sleep better, and it creates serotonin in the gut and gives you a more positive outlook on things. Yeah, hits the head. But the gym can be very daunting for someone their first time going, especially women as well. Like the gym I work with now in Clonmel, I use that as my kind of testing area. I tell them face the squat racks the other way. So the ass is facing the wall. Because let's face it, there's a lot of perverts in the gym, and a lot of women are self-conscious on that too. Okay? like call a spade a spade. But it's a daunting place because you have people who are like me when I was 120 kilos walking around like this, could barely scratch my back. You're looking at big muscly fellas, and you're looking at other people, and you're there like a crow looking into a tailor bag, not knowing what you're doing. Right? So, but people shouldn't be afraid to, if you don't know what you're doing in the gym, don't be afraid to ask a coach or a trainer you see. That's what they're there for. You know,
Peter,
like
sorry to interrupt you there, Peter. We're kind of running short on time again, guys. We've got about 5 minutes left. So if there's anything that stuck out for you guys there, pop it in the chat or ask a question. We've literally got about 5 minutes to take questions from Peter. So is there anything there that's sticking out for you guys? Just pop it in there if you like. If I don't see anything up, I've got one more question.
Very
myself.
shy, aren't they?
They're very shy group, yeah.
Turn off the bikes now.
We actually had them on about half an hour before you, so they've listened to a lot of stuff this evening now, but some really good tips, Peter.
And we melted, listen to me.
Between the information we're giving them and then the information you're giving them. Hang on, there's a question now.
Yeah, is it okay to have dinner at 9 in the evening? It's okay to have dinner at 10 o'clock in the evening, 12, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make it, as in if you're talking about fat loss and you're in a deficit, it doesn't matter what time you eat. Calories don't magically change like after a certain time. Is it okay to train every day? Depending on your training, I would say no, because you need to recover. And if you need time off to recover. If you don't recover, you're not going to progress.
Tips to increase protein?
What's that?
Tips to increase protein?
Increase protein?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, obviously just take in some more meats. Like more meats and dairy. Now, if you're vegan, obviously you'll have to incorporate, you won't have the full amino acid profile, so you'll have to mix different beans and legumes and all them kind of things just to get the complete profile, but you can get them. It's just you have to do a bit more playing around. Intermittent fasting, look, I've no issue with it. It's still a deficit, right? Every diet works by calorie deficit. It's like every diet is a car. The way you do it is just a body kit. It's just whatever way you're doing it. Intermittent fasting was not created for fat loss. Intermittent fasting was created for athletes to increase growth hormone, because it does increase growth hormone, but what people use it for fat loss is it spaces their meals and they eat less, so they're in a calorie deficit.
Opinions on gels for longer runs, like a half marathon, or do we need them?
Okay, so for things like that, you want to start preparing a day or two before the marathon. That's where you want to start filling the muscles with glycogen, so complex carbohydrates, right? Not sugar, like you want to be hitting the complex carbs, the slow broken down ones, and fats as well. Prep a day or two before that with pastas and that kind of stuff. So your muscles are storage. That's where you store, right? On the marathons, though, you will run out of your glycogen stores, and then you're going to start burning fat. And gels, to be honest, yeah, go for when you're on something like that. You'd want something that's fast acting. Okay, there's no point eating a complex carbohydrate on a marathon. Okay, so you want to be drinking, if you're at a point of a marathon, do not touch them until halfway, until you really need them. And at that point, sugary. You just get carbs that are in quick and sugary.
Best foods to eat before and after training?
Before training, well, it depends what time you're training, but we'd say after training would be carbohydrates, and depending on what type of training, well, no, all training actually would be have some carbohydrates after training and some simple carbs as well. Add in some sugar, because you want to rise your insulin, because you want your insulin to send blood sugar into the muscles quickly. you want to recover quickly. If you notice that if you eat sugar after training, you won't suffer from DOMS as bad. You won't have a delayed muscle onset soreness for as long because your insulin is sending sugar back out to the muscles quick. Beforehand, doesn't really matter as long as you feel good fueled.
Okay, guys, any more questions before we wrap up? We've covered nearly as much as we can there. Peter, I could have easily had you on there for another hour or so if you wanted, but...
Look, I taught for Ireland anyway, so...
Yeah, you're a great talker. Guys, what we're going to do is we're going to start wrapping up for tonight. I want to say a massive thank you to Peter for coming on.
Like, if anyone has any questions, though, like, that's why I said to you, I do your podcast and come on for you, because as your trainer said, you have the same ethics as I do. Okay, and I've seen that. There's a lot of trainers who will ask me to come on and do stuff, and I'll tell them I won't, like, because I just don't like their style. Which I like your style, you've good ethics, so fair play. That's why I agreed to come on, so thanks.
Thanks a million for that, Peter. Coming from you, I'll take that as a huge compliment because we really appreciate what you're doing as a trainer at the minute. Fantastic knowledge and really kind of practical approach as well. I'm sure I'll be talking to you again soon as well. But you have a busy few weeks ahead of you. And yeah, thanks a million for coming on. I'll send this recording on to you again as soon as I have it done.
And if anyone has any other questions they want to ask me on Instagram, just look up my Instagram. It's Peter O Halloran _. I'm the only one with a blue tick there, so it'll come up as the first one. So send me a message there. I have no problem answering any tips. You don't have to be clients. As I said, and I said all the time, if someone takes the time to look at a story, like it or whatever, I'll take the time to answer back to them. You know what I mean? It costs nothing to be nice. Simple as that. So yeah, that's that.
Cheers, guys. Okay, thanks, guys, for coming on as well. Thanks, Peter. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'll stop.